one question about enrollment and coercion in the work field or any field, that we are together and working with other people. Either it's a volunteer project or a company or, I don't know, the community in the neighborhood where you live. Why is enrollment more powerful than coercion? And how do we create an environment where there is enrollment?
So sooner or later, all motivation is self-motivation. That external forces can bully us, can push us, can reward us, but they only work if we internalize what is going on and motivate ourselves forward. So what coercion is a regularly maintained regime of external forces that push us to do something we might not want to do. The minute coercion ceases, unless we've embraced it and been brainwashed, it stops working. Enrollment is self-motivation. Enrollment is, I have signed up to go here. I have signed up to do this, to make this change happen. So an organization that is filled with people who are enrolled in the journey will always outperform one that is coercing people to go on the journey. So back to where we started, which is the job of the leader is to create the conditions for enrollment. That if you can figure out how to do work that is compelling enough that people, not all people, just enough people want to come with you, then the job of building the institution gets much easier.
So you also write in the Song of Significance, Leading Together, that hiring someone is not dating. If it's not dating, what is it then?
So I've been fortunate enough to never have been on an online dating site. But from what I hear, it's pretty superficial.
For sure. I can tell you that. I've been on it. It's so superficial. And each time we go back, I'm like, no. And then, it's so superficial. And I never had a nice date. I can tell you that very openly.
And so what's happening is we are resorting, when we are hiring people, to a very similar thing. We're going to look at 5 lines on a piece of paper, and then we're going to talk to you and see if you're good at talking to us, if you're good at being interviewed. But your job isn't being interviewed. So why are we seeing if you're good at being interviewed? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What we're actually doing is saying, we're all prisoners in the same coercion system, and I'd like to spend time with people I want to spend time with. That feels a lot like dating at some level. When in fact, what we want to do is surround ourselves with people who are enrolled in the journey and who have the real skills necessary for us to go together. Whether they're good at being interviewed or not is completely irrelevant. And what we have instead is the chance to, now that it's so easy to do things remotely, give them a work project and see what happens. Pay them for it. Because if you can do the work and you want to do the work, you're the kind of person we want to work with, not that you're clever or easy to talk to on a Zoom call. And yet, so much of what we see on LinkedIn or in job interviews feels a lot to me like dating.
Yeah. Actually also it feels for me also a lot like standardized tests. Like, there are some set of skills like tick, 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 tick. And I'm not talking about the real soft skills, but the hard skills. We need this. We will get there very soon. We will talk about the education system, about the human-centered, human-centered companies, that we are actually hiring human with real skills that want to be enrolled. And going back to Viktor Frankl for one moment, how about, I was thinking, having a statue of a heart in any organization or a company? Like, I'm not talking about the real statue, but how do we build people-centric organizations? What could be a systemic change there?
Well, you tend to get what you measure, and you tend to get what you reward. And if we're going to measure and reward butts and seats and the duplicity of tricking people into paying more than they should or working harder than they might, then that's what we're going to get. And when we can create this environment of mutual expectation and enrollment, the rest of it can follow. That we have organizations in our lives that are like that. But we have to embrace turnover. We have to be able to say to somebody, you're not going where we're going anymore. Let's not go together. What's the point? And it used to be that if you lost your job in the culture of the 1950s or 60s, it was a black mark and it took a long time to replace it. But in a world filled with gigs, maybe not so much. So you only get tomorrow one time. Do you want to spend it with us or not? Because we're going over here and this is how we do things around here. And if you've got a boss that's a bully, if you've got a boss that is pushing you to do things you don't want to do, don't give that boss your day tomorrow. They didn't deserve it.
Does it also mean like at that moment, actually, we can show up more as a human instead of as a pawn in any organization we work for?
We can if we are willing to take responsibility. That there's nothing in my manifesto that says that people are entitled to be prima donnas or jerks. That what I'm saying is if you have actual contributions to make and you are willing to be responsible for them, you now have agency. And if you have agency, you can take responsibility. And if you can take responsibility and bring the right skills to the table, you will never need to worry about getting a job. That if you go first with those things, the jobs will follow. What we train people to do is to get a job and then ask what needs to be done, instead of saying, here's what I'm able to do. Who needs it?